So, an important day. South Africa sits on the precipice of a historic parliamentary sitting of the country's 7th democratic administration. And just like in 1994, the country's political landscape is set to enter a new era. Well, in 1994, Government of National Unity ushered in our democracy, and 30 decades later, parliamentarians are faced with the task of establishing a second Government of National Unity to usher the country into this new era. Former Deputy President Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka served in that first cabinet and joins us this morning to reflect on that first sitting now via video link. Dr. Mlambo-Ngcuka, a good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, you obviously became Deputy President only in the second administration, but 30 years ago, you were a Member of Parliament being sworn in an expected Government of National Unity. Talk to me firstly about if there are any feelings in the fact that 30 years later we again are talking about a Government of National Unity. Is this a step in the right direction in your view?
Well, I guess we don't have a choice. This is what the voters have directed us and the country to do. And I think we have to be faithful to that and do our best to serve the electorate and to take the country forward.
Will you take us back to that day 30 years ago when you yourself were being sworn in as a Member of Parliament in a Government of National Unity? Was there at that point a clear direction on, I suppose, the marching orders for each Member of Parliament as you went in to vote for a Speaker, a Deputy Speaker, and then the President?
Well, there were many unknowns, by the way, even at that time, because everything was new. So we did not know exactly how we were going to emerge as a country. But there was a lot of excitement, a lot of hope, a lot of determination to get the things right. We didn't have a baggage ourselves who were coming to Parliament for the first time. So we were going to be taking the first step. But as you see now, we have a road that has been traveled and there has been challenges. There has been successes, but there's also been challenges. So what we actually need now is to see a determination to correct the wrongs and to make sure that we build on whatever it is that we have been able to build in the last 30 years.
Yeah, there have been challenges and there has been a 30-year road traveled by the leaders of our country. And so as they enter what, you know, again, this word is being used a lot, this new dispensation of our country, have they had enough time? I mean, essentially, it's been 14 days since the election results were announced. Enough time to come together and say, well, this is the direction that we take on this, the 14th of June.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to fret about whether there was enough time or not, because we know the Constitution. We knew that in an event that we found ourselves in this situation, this is what we have to do. So whatever choices that we make, we will have to live by those choices. So I do hope that we have chosen well and that this will enable us to build and to work forward. If I look at how the land lies, there are no easy choices. Whatever choice parties are going to make, these are going to be difficult choices. But it is also an exciting time because there is an opportunity, as people have been saying, to reset the country. There's an opportunity for us to reflect about some of the challenges, especially what we inherited from apartheid, our spatial development, for instance, the fact that we still have a layout of the country that looks like the way it was before. We realize now that this is a huge task and it has to be done together with other parties. This is something we have to do. We have inequality, which I think is probably one of the things that really is very frustrating. We have to do much more. It is clear that the steps that we have taken as far as addressing that is concerned, were not enough. So something has to be different this time, and it has to be done together.
Yeah, you mentioned inequality, and I think it's been a big talking point as part of these discussions, right? What can and cannot be compromised by some or all political parties. Do you have the sense that the ANC is walking into this first sitting really walking the tightrope, that coming out of these discussions, they need to be able to balance themselves equally? And are you confident that they'll be able to do so and still be able to hold the confidence of South Africans that inequality is a priority for them?
I think the inequality has to be a priority for everybody, because we will not be able to address it when we just depend on government or the ruling party. But obviously, we need the ruling party to be determined to make this a priority. I think because of the constituency of the ANC and who has voted for the ANC understands that this is fundamental in their support base.
You've got, of course, other political parties like the EFF and ATM and others who are essentially holding a caucus and are saying that they are being excluded from this government of national unity. What should be done about those views?
I think it's important to build bridges, but it's also important to call on everyone that is going to be in parliament to respect the constitution and to want the rule of law. So it is a delicate balance. It is a difficult one to try and navigate, but the ANC has to make sure that it surrounds itself with people that it can work with and it will disagree with. I have no doubt that it's not possible to be with the DA, for instance, and not disagree. They will disagree, but they have to fight for the rights of those who voted for them.
Yeah.
Every step of the way.
Along this program that we'll be seeing from 10 o'clock, one of the earliest, I suppose, things on the agenda really is going to be the electing of the Speaker of Parliament. And I think it's an important position, particularly when you look at the fact that we've had a Parliament that just recently had a disgraced Speaker step away from the National Assembly in Newzroom. What considerations are important when political parties decide who takes that seat, who leads the arm of legislature, and which political party certainly should be taking up that seat?
Well, we really have to elect a speaker who can maintain order, as the speaker always says, because one thing that we don't like as South African is a parliament that is in turmoil. We want to be sure that we will have a speaker who will make sure that the business of parliament goes on. They must pass laws. They must keep a decorum that gives South African confidence. You know, parliament is one institution that all South Africans see most of the time. We don't see cabinet when it sits. We don't see when decisions are being made in departments. But when parliament sits and deliberates, we are all able to be there with them and to experience it as we watch through our televisions. So it's important for that to be smooth. So you need somebody who can hold the reins.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest question is going to be whether or not that person can come from the formerly opposition benches, right? Because obviously opposition is going to be whoever is not part of that GNU today, and you can share your thoughts on that, Doctor. But just as we close off as well, you take us back to 1994, the Government of National Unity, the swearing in. What's top of mind about what members of Parliament will be thinking about in that particular moment, about the responsibility that they take on in this brand new, country and government that we're forming?
Well, I think that many will be thinking about how they must never find themselves in this position again, because this is a real difficult position. I think, as somebody else was saying earlier, that we sort of we took it for granted that there'll always be an outright majority, and the starting of a new government will be just easy. We now know that not unless you work very hard, you bring the voters with you, this is not guaranteed. We have all these questions that we are asking now because we don't have an outright winner. So it will be important for them to think about how hard they will work as a government from day one and gain the confidence of the voters, so that next time we have to form a government, we will be in a much better and a different position.